No.
Ooh, what is that cool noise? Is that like a lightsaber?
It's my ringer. It's the, you know what it is? It's the proton pack from Ghostbusters.
Oh.
Winding down.
Huh.
That's cool. You can hear that. I'm turning my ringer off now.
Yeah, good. Yeah. Welcome to the Business Over Beer Happy Hour, a daily dose of support for business owners, entrepreneurs, and people passionate about what they do. Hosted by Ben Surratt, Jonathan Kaler, and Jason Knope, it's time to grab a beer, enjoy some cheer, and join together.
We're live.
Hey!
Hi, everybody, again. Psych. The first one was a psych. That was a psych. Now it's the real one. It's the Business Over Beer Happy Hour. It's Wednesday. It's Hump Day. And I'm only looking at two good-looking individuals right now on my screen because
really
one is
incomplete.
missing.
I feel so incomplete, Ben.
It does. It really does. But I want to start out with talking with the man of the hour, the terror of power. Some people call him the space cowboy. No. Some people call him Spartacus, but we're calling him Stitches from now on. So, Jonathan Kaler, how are you, my friend?
I'm still in stitches, Ben, but I'm doing okay. A little more mobility in the fingers. Still pretty sore, but
I was watching you earlier, and you did one of these. Ooh.
Yeah, I think anything that has resistance, even like the slightest resistance, still just is a nasty pinch. So I was just adjusting my computer with my right hand, and it was a little stuck to the desk, and yeah. So opening the refrigerator, for example, like, no, sir, that is a bad idea. So hey, it's okay. We're not here to talk about my terrible judgment that caused me to get stitches in the first place. But I did want to say, Ben, I appreciate you. Do you know why? Because it's Teacher Appreciation Week. And so for that reason, Ben, I appreciate you, my friend. And all the other parents who are out there doing the teaching thing, I salute you. Not joining us on the program today is the gangster of Hazeldale. We are not down with the KNOPP. You don't know me.
Not me.
Jason Knope is having some issues at the house. We're very sad that he is unable to join us at the moment. He's working very hard to get on the show. So we'll hopefully see his smiling, shiny head by the end of the program. So everyone keep your fingers crossed and pray for our good friend that he can resolve his household mess. But Ben,
speaking of houses,
man, how about that? That's 2 days in a row. I've got a perfect segue to you. Who's our guest?
It's Andi Costello. And Andi Costello, thank you so much.
It's a pleasure and an honor to be here. Thank you for asking me to be on Business Over Beer. I'm super stoked.
Of course. Welcome so much to the happy hour. I don't know why you would agree to do this. I mean, You must have low standards. You have a show of your own.
I know.
Where you go around the Couve and meet great people. But in all seriousness, thank you so much for being on Happy Hour.
Yeah, my pleasure. My pleasure. We got lots to talk about, lots to cover today.
We do. So this is Business Over Beer. We like to start with your business. So why don't you give everybody sort of the 50,000-foot view of your business and what you're into?
Sure. I am a professional real estate broker. I help people buy, sell, and lease real estate. My focus in the past has been on residential, and we certainly can talk about that. And I'm also transitioning into growing my commercial real estate business and helping businesses find places to grow their business into in Oregon and in Washington.
Awesome. Now, is that that shift to commercial real estate, is that brought on by our current situation, or was that something that was kind of in the works even before we got into this COVID-19 pandemic situation?
It was in the works beforehand, just presented an opportunity because things just kind of slowed down and I could breathe a little bit. And then it was like, awesome, let's go do this. So yeah.
So I'm curious. So most real estate agents, I assume, I'm going to make an assumption, I do not know, but so I'm going to go out on a limb here and hope that I don't make an ass of myself. Most real estate agents focus on one or the other. Is that a fairly true statement?
That is a fairly true statement. And I, my focus was originally on the residential side. And I actually, when I first got into the business, I wanted to get into commercial. And I didn't kind of realize what a good old boys club it was. So it kind of took me a while to make some relationships and make some connections and kind of learn a little bit more about what I didn't know. And so I'm going to be easing in, and I'm hoping, within the next year to be 100% commercial, but you got to pay the bills and do what you got to do. So,
yeah, for sure.
So still helping people out on the residential side as I transition into commercial.
Very cool. Well,
Rock
I can't
on.
wait to hear more about all of that. I know you brought some information on the markets that'll be interesting for everybody to hear. But Ben, Stitches is thirsty.
Stitches is thirsty, man.
How about you?
So I am very thirsty. But you know what? I cheated. So I will let you start us off.
Ben, I bought this just because of the name of the beer. And I think we might have even had this on Business Over Beer at some point. But I saw this on the shelf and I couldn't pass it up. It's from the Ascendant Beer Company. It is called Awesome Sauce Hazy IPA. And with a name like Awesome Sauce, I was like, that's great. I'm gonna get after that one. Of course, I love hazy IPAs. So that is what is on the menu for me today.
That's a good sound.
So, Mr. Cheater, what have you already poured into your glass?
We did have Backwoods earlier, so I did open the Venture Forth.
Ooh.
What do you think of that? Because I had that on the show on Monday. What do you think of the Venture Forth as a hazy IPA?
It's a perfect hazy.
I mean, the color, it's so good, it's so thick, and it's so delicious. What about you, Miss Costello? You've got something fun to share.
I do. So One Tree Hard Cider. I have celiac, so I can't drink beer, but I can drink cider. It comes out with this holiday cider called Snow Globe, and it's got sparkles in it. It's like a cranberry deal. So I bought a case of it, so I'm just kind of rationing it throughout the year because you can't ever find it. Like I couldn't even find it on tap in Vancouver over Christmas. So I'm thought this was a good occasion to cheers to you, gentlemen.
That's awesome.
Absolutely, it is. Well, I will certainly prost to that.
Prost.
That's fantastic.
So good.
Awesome sauce indeed.
How is it?
It's great. It's not overly juicy like the one that you're drinking. It's actually got kind of a thick, almost malty backbone to it. It's not a citrus punch in the face like a lot of hazies. It's really interesting. It's not like you would sit down and want it to be refreshing. This kind of almost chew on it.
I gotcha.
As it goes back, but yeah, really tasty. It's complex. Yeah, I like it.
You guys are in depth. I'm just like, this is tasty. I like it. Go Snow Globe. Awesome.
Hey, that's all.
It's kind of how I used to drink wine.
That's all you need.
Like it's grapey. It's red. It's white. Dry.
And
sweet.
it's sparkly.
There's grapes in there, so I'm good.
Yep.
I'm good.
Hey,
we got some folks watching. Tamara Bertrand yells out, "It's Andi Costello." Tamara, welcome to the show. And she also, I think, 5 exclamation points Snow Globe. So obviously she likes the Snow Globe as well.
She introduced me to Snow Globe. She
did
posted
she?
about it on Facebook, and she's like, "You got to try it." And I went, and I was like, "Oh my god, it's amazing!" So thanks, Tamara.
Awesome. Pros to you, Tamara. Team Money is on the program. She says that Team Money's catchphrase is "awesome sauce." So I know she's digging.
Exactly.
She knows. I know she's digging what I'm laying down there. Angela Surratt, no relation, is watching.
Shocking.
Lori Kaler, also no relation, is watching. BC1 is tuned into the program. Hello, Elizabeth Bergen, George LaRue, Rihanna Cameron, and,
Rihanna!
And Liz Dahlman Bentley, our guest for Friday, is also
Awesome.
tuning in as well. Liz, we cannot wait to have you on the show on Friday. So prost to all of you. Thank you for tuning in. If anybody else is watching, let us know.
What's the riddle?
Give us a wave.
What's the answer to the riddle?
It's time for the riddle.
What
we already have an answer, so.
For real?
Yeah, so go ahead, read it.
What has cities but no houses, forests but no trees, and water but no fish?
The answer, according to Tamara Bertrand, is a map.
Boom. Winner!
Look at that.
What?
This
Right out of the gate.
is yours, Tamara.
That's freaking awesome. Wow. You're sharp, Tamara. I already knew that. That's why we're friends.
Boom.
Yeah.
You already knew the riddle, or you knew that she
No,
was sharp?
I knew she was sharp. I'm like, that's why I like her. So I'm like, that's awesome.
That's great. So, congratulations. But, Andy, I want to talk about real estate because as Mr. Respect the Hair himself stitches nose, I love real estate. I love talking about it. I could talk about it all day. But right now, there are a lot of people who are they don't know what's going on in the real estate market, especially in the residential part. So why don't you just start with whatever you want to start with about the current market right now with real estate?
Yeah, sure. Well, I'm going to start a little globally, kind of up top, with some national information. In March, our median housing price across the country rose 8%. So, that was kind of the beginning of COVID here on the West Coast. And, it might have been back in New York. And at the end of April, we saw people only drop 4% of sellers drop their prices. So that tells me, 96% of sellers were holding strong on their prices and believe that, the market is still really good. And the prediction is that we're still going to see a price increase over this next year with housing. Especially here in the Portland metro area, we're predicting at least a 2% increase in the property values.
I'm gonna put you on pause. Hold on.
Yeah. Uh-oh. You're buzzing over there. Ooh, Mr. Nope's coming online.
Wish we had some
Should we say we ended it? Should we mess with him and be like, oh, well, thanks, Andy. Appreciate it.
God, he takes forever to get on.
I'm sorry to interrupt you for him.
Right.
I'm sorry.
And they can't see that. So the real watchers are like, what the hell is going on?
Go ahead though.
Okay.
Yes.
So nationally, our market's still really strong for people that are looking to sell, and locally, we're expecting a kind of a 2% increase in prices. So definitely don't see that part of our market getting hurt. I think the bigger question is what's going to happen with people looking for forbearance. And the one thing I always want to tell people is before you want to talk to your lender about forbearance, think about that, because the lenders are reporting that information that you've even had a conversation about a forbearance. So if you're even thinking about refinancing or doing anything, you should be talking to a lender. Hey, Jason.
Hey. I'm thirsty.
Whoa,
Yeah,
another backwoods.
I bet you are. After the day you've had.
Whoops.
Well, we just ended, Canope. So
that's okay. Can I drink still?
Yeah, absolutely. That's interesting, Andy, because I saw I think there's about 15% of the 15% of the Fannie Freddie loans have been in forbearance. I believe that is that the number? 15%.
I don't know. I have not seen that number. I or at least called about it.
That could be it too.
And I think that it's because they're obviously everything's recorded and they're tracking that. But I want to encourage people before you even think about doing a forbearance. It could really impact your credit or refinance, or when you go to sell to go buy something else. So before you even think about doing that, maybe a refinance or doing something along those lines could still save you a few hundred a month, which might just kind of get you over the hump.
Mhm.
So
Because I think people forget, or they see that, oh, well, these lenders or our banks, they're gonna, they're not going to charge us late fees, or they're not going to foreclose, or they're not going to, they're not going to take the normal punishments. But what they don't realize is that doesn't mean that it doesn't impact your financial profile. And that's a really important point to remind folks that, just because you can skip a payment without fear of foreclosure, that doesn't mean you should. So really use that as a absolute final last resort.
yeah, and Congress hasn't really come to any conclusion about how these forbearance payments should be vetted out. I mean, in terms of, some lenders could say, hey, in 90 days, it's, your 3 months are due, or they could be tacking on another 90 days to the end of the loan.
Yeah.
And, if you can't pay your mortgage today, you might not be able to pay your mortgage in 90 days. So I always encourage people, either talk to your real estate professional or talk to a professional lender before you do anything, because you don't want to screw up your credit or hurt yourself if you think you might be making a move or doing something in the next couple of years.
Do you see any difference? I mean, I know if you got your tea leaves and your crystal ball out, but do you see a shift in the direction of where housing prices are going to go in the next 6 months to a year, or is it going to be idle?
No, I think we'll still see some slight increases because there's no inventory. Our inventory is the biggest problem. So, right now you're moving because of a job relocation or your family size, or maybe you're just tired of your small house and you need something bigger. But we still have an inventory issue. So right now we're still seeing multiple offers on things that are, under the 350,000 price point. You're still seeing a competitive marketplace. You're still seeing activity in the market because there's just not a whole lot of inventory. A balanced market's considered 6 months inventory on the market, and we're still less than 2 months. So
Whoa.
it's still a seller's market.
Well, and we had an inventory issue before this pandemic
yes.
ever happened, right?
Correct.
And
Correct.
so now I would assume it's people aren't putting their houses on the market, right? There's almost a freeze in any new inventory.
Yes, exactly. And then you had the builders that were on hold for 6 weeks or so. So
Mhm.
you've got a little bit of a lag of them getting their inventory on the market. So yeah, we still have an inventory issue in, I want to say in April, we had almost 700 houses that sold, and 63% of them were on the market less than 30 days. So,
Whoa.
so I mean, the market's still really, really tight and it's moving. So, that is still really active. And even on the commercial side, it's the same thing. Even though you might see some challenges with some of the restaurants or office space, this will present an opportunity for people to find new ways to use the space. I mean, that's how Regis and WeWork kind of came about, right? You had this office space and they're like, what can we do? Oh, we can build these kind of temp offices. So this time is going to present an opportunity, certainly on the commercial side and on the residential side, because people still need to figure out a place to live or a place to work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we totally want to. I totally want to get into the commercial part with you, but just stick with a little bit more with the residential. Do you see any problems with people getting approved for loans, or maybe not problems is not the right word, or what strategies they should take if they're going to get a loan for a home?
Yeah, so that's why I say if you even think you might need a forbearance, you should talk to a mortgage professional or your bank, but not maybe your current lender, because again, they're going to record that like, oh, you called to even inquire about a forbearance. That is, for some lenders, is going on your record and is potentially getting reported to a credit bureau. Yes, because I've seen this in groups with other realtors. It's happening to realtors. We understand the business. So that's why I caution people before you do anything to even get information, you should talk to a professional lender, because if your issue is like, hey, I just need to manage my cash, that maybe a refinance would be a better option than even requesting the forbearance.
That's great information.
Yeah.
Like, for real. What would you suggest for the first time home buyer?
Yeah. So the first time home buyer, I mean, the biggest thing is making sure you have a job. And then during the process of finding loans right now, what we're seeing is even during the process, like traditionally they would, pull your credit, do employment verification, but now we're seeing that multiple times during the process because I want to make sure you didn't lose your job or get furloughed in maybe the 30 to 40 days it takes to close on the house. So obviously the biggest thing is just making sure that your employment is secure. Because I've personally lost deals where my clients lost their job. And so obviously you can't buy a house if you don't have a job and an income.
Man.
So, yeah. So, I mean, it's tough. It's a tough time, but the inventory is just not there and you still have buyers. I mean, you still have people needing to move for job relocations or, you know, their family's growing or shrinking or somebody needs to go into a care facility. So, I mean, life isn't on hold for people, you know, not everybody is just kind of status quo.
So what has all of this done sort of to the process of looking for a house? You know, I mean, you as a realtor, and then of course your clients, I mean, the normal, when I was shopping for a house, we drove around with our realtor and, you know, looked at all the houses. Is that activity still going on? Is it all being done virtually? Kind of talk a little bit about the impact to just the actual process of shopping for a home during this time.
Yeah. So obviously, you know, now I don't want to get into a car with anybody, but and I carry wipes in my car. And so now the state orders require only 2 people into a house at a time. So if there's a couple, like I'll go into the house with one person and then tell the other person to wait outside until we're done. And then we kind of swap. You know, obviously if you don't have to sell, a lot of people, if they're living in their house, aren't putting it on the market because they're too worried about strangers in their house.
Right.
So, you know, kind of the ideal situation is a vacant house where people don't have to worry as much. You know, I always wear a mask when I'm out. And I don't have gloves, but I just carry my wipes and, you know, make sure when I get back in the car, I swab everything down.
So that process is happening on kind of a limited basis.
Yes.
That's interesting.
And I started for my own listings, I started paying for more virtual tours. So, you know, instead of just, in addition to just pictures, you know, people could kind of measure space and do different things online. So if they could kind of get a better sense of like the flow of the house before taking the time to go out and look at it, just because of the situation that we're in.
Mm-hmm. You know, look, I don't want to question your technique or your professionalism, but on you know, Beachfront Bargain Hunt, they just let the 2 people go into the house and walk around and comment on it, and then they come back out and talk to the realtor. So, you know, I don't understand why you have to go through it twice. Maybe, I don't know. Again, I don't want to question your technique, but you know.
Yeah, you know, that would be great. Hey, just, you know, the first thing that you see, you're just going to write an over asking offer. I would love that. That would be amazing.
No, the color of the walls is wrong. I can't have this house.
You're just talking about that earlier.
I bet you were. Hey, not knowing if you guys have talked about this at all, but how does any of this affect potentially like refinances or purchasing of investment rental properties?
We covered that, Canope. You can watch the playback.
Okay. See you guys.
Let's move on.
Well,
I'm sorry. Like, ask your question again. I missed you, Canope. I got a whole bunch pent up now that you weren't here at the intro.
You're just gonna hammer me at the end.
No,
well, I was trying to refinance one of my rentals, and interest rates for rental properties are actually much higher. Like I mean, still, you know, 5. I think I was quoted 5.25 to 5 3/4, and I'm like, well, that's not really a deal. So I think, you know, the lending's obviously tightened up, so the interest rates are higher for investment properties. And then for refinancing, so that's why I was suggesting if people even think that they might need some forbearance is to talk to a lender about a potential refinancing as an option, because again, there is a potential, well, some lenders are reporting even a call about a forbearance onto credit. So before your credit gets impacted that way, you might want to talk to a lender about a refinancing as another option, because interest rates are still low for primary residence refinances.
Do you see anything just with your clients that you have now? Have you seen any kind of changes in like credit requirements for lending, besides obviously you got to prove that you have a job, but are there credit limits now changing, or how is that looking for lending?
Yeah, well, as always, you know, the people with the best credit get the best deal. And there was kind of a hold for some lenders, not all lenders, on the jumbo lending. So kind of on the high dollar loans.
That's
Those are
500,000 plus, right?
Yes, it varies on location, but I think that that's right. If your loan is over 500, not the purchase price.
Right.
And so, yes, there was some kind of pause on that for some lenders, but I think the biggest thing about credit scores is, you know, obviously keeping them up is the most important thing to get the best rate. So again, I go back to, you know, before you do anything about a potential forbearance, make sure you're talking to somebody. And if you don't have somebody, please reach out to me through this platform or some, you know, or to anybody that you know to find a lender, just to talk to them. You know, you don't have to sign on the dotted line, but I'd hate for people to lose out on an opportunity to refinance when that's the solution instead of a forbearance. Yeah.
So we've had a few more folks join. Just want to say hi to Caitlin, joined us, and Rebecca Brown says, Andy! So she's watching and cheering you on. We got Brittany Ellingson, our good friend, Matt DeMarco, Jamie Young. She kind of followed up on what you were saying so many opportunities right now. And Audrey Clark is watching. She says, great job, Andi Costello. Audrey, thank you so much for tuning in, everybody. If you have questions for us or you have any questions about real estate, please type them in here and we'll obviously try to get to them. Andy, you have not always been a real estate agent. Talk a little bit about your background in city planning and kind of just a little bit about how you ended up in Vancouver and in the real estate game in the first place.
Yeah, so I spent 15 years in local government, moving around from Pennsylvania to Arizona to California. And, you know, I was in a very volatile career where my position reported to the city council. So I was a city manager, and, you know, you get a council election and things change, winds change. And always wanted to move to the Pacific Northwest. And when I had a council change, it was kind of a life moment of like, well, what am I going to keep doing? And do I want to keep moving? You know, I always wanted to move up here. So it was kind of like, well, what's stopping me? I don't have any children. So it was like, might as well just no better time like the present. So just picked up and moved. And I really got into the real estate industry in terms of an interest when I started buying rentals when I lived in Arizona. And I was like, it's kind of cool. I like this game. And so, you know, those who can't do end up in real estate, I guess. It kind of attracts all these like like people from all sorts of backgrounds that you're like, oh yeah, I could do this. And I admit getting some traction like with any business is tough, you know, especially a service business. I admit I sort of underestimated it. You know, you open a Subway and it's like, boom, people want sandwiches. You know, you open a service and you're like, where is everybody?
But I posted on Facebook twice last week.
Like, I got my license. Where is everybody?
I thought my phone would start ringing.
Yeah.
Man, this is actual work.
Yeah.
What a jip.
I worked just as many hours as when I worked in government. But I think this is more emotional energy than intellectual energy of what I used to do. But I love it. I love meeting people, and I built my business around building a community. And so I feel like if you give more to the community, then it'll give back to you. And that's definitely been the case for me.
You've done a lot with, is it Habitat for Humanity too? Is that what you?
Yeah, Habitat
Talk
for
about
Humanity.
that a little bit.
Yeah, that's one of my passion organizations. When you move a lot, you kind of got to find something that, you know, you can find anywhere. And so I got involved with them because I also didn't want to volunteer like as an office job. So I, you know, would go out on job sites on a Saturday and you're like, oh, it's so much better than being in the office. So when I came to town, I really got involved with them. And last year I was chair of the Women Build Committee for Habitat here in Vancouver. And
that's awesome.
Yeah. So I'm still on the committee. Obviously we're not meeting now, but our goal is to raise, you know, $100,000 to build a home for Habitat. And it's really important because, you know, most Habitat homeowners are single moms. You know, they're the ones that are kind of in service jobs and, you know, they just kind of need to know their mortgage is going to be the same for the time that they, you know, are in the house and paying that off. So they have an asset at the end. Because contrary to what people think about Habitat, you know, they do pay a mortgage. It's not a free house. They had to put in sweat equity and they have to show that they're budgeting. But they don't pay interest. So when they're paying their loan back, it's on the price of the house in terms of, you know, the construction and all of that. And it's based on no more than, I think, like 30% of their income. So they know hopefully over time your income will go like this, but your mortgage payment will always be like that. So I love it. I think it's a great organization, and whether you want to work in the office or go hammer some nails, it's a fantastic organization.
Love Habitat. And if if you want to do home improvements, don't forget about going to Habitat store because you get some good deals.
Yes, the Restore is awesome. Yeah, you can find all sorts of stuff, and just building your skill set. The here in Vancouver,
That's right.
The construction manager is a woman. That several of their AmeriCorps are women, so it's a great opportunity for women to go out and feel like a safe space. Like, I don't know how to do any of this stuff, and they'll coach you through it. You don't need to be a home expert to work on a Habitat house.
That's really awesome.
Yeah. So I got a lot of passions. Like, I got so many things I want to do and be a part of.
I got one passion.
I mean, I'm involved with Rotary of Three Creeks, and we do awesome service projects and help.
Oh, I forgot with the Rotary too, man.
Yeah. So, hey, this community will take care of you if you take care of it. That's the way I look at it. And I'm fortunate enough I can give my time and my money to important causes to leave this community better than when I moved here.
Talk about your video series. You've been doing that now since, I think you said 2017. Kind of talk about why you started doing that and why you've been doing it for so long, and what was sort of the reason behind that.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, our schools don't really teach how to build a business, so it's all like trial and error. And so when I got into business for myself, I was like, man, I don't know how to do anything but build community. All I've worked in government, and I'd get to know people around a park if they had an issue, or all I did was work in communities. And so I kind of took that model of like, hey, how can I help the community? And so my approach was, I just want to meet businesses because eventually I knew I wanted to get into commercial real estate. So I was like, well, how do I meet the people that I want to serve and that I want to work with? And so it started out as a monthly little shindig of talking to folks, and then now it's a weekly series. I think I've only ever interviewed the same person twice because they asked to be interviewed again. But I'm always meeting new people. And Tamara Bertrand, shout out to her and her husband. They were my first interview ever, so they took a chance on me and this thing that I was trying to do. And so it's been great. I meet new people every week and love kind of sharing with the community what business owners are doing and how hard they work. It is so hard to own a business. And I think we all underestimate that as new business owners when you launch something, because like you said, we'll post it on Facebook and you think people are going to come, and that's not the case.
Yeah, you said trial and error. My experience has been mostly error. I don't know. I think I'm doing it wrong.
Speaking of, do we have any more questions or anything, Jonathan?
Well, Marty Meisner has joined. Hey, Marty.
Hey, Marty.
Our good buddy. He is terribly apologetic that he's so late, but he loves you, Andi Costello. So there you go. He makes up for it. And Tamara says, of course, you rock, because obviously you guys are good buddies. That's fantastic. I love that Tamara's out here supporting you and you back to her. So that's great. I think that continues to talk about the closeness of this Vancouver small business community. I mean, we've certainly experienced it. I hope that we've sort of shed a little bit of light on it through the course of doing these happy hours over, the last 27 of these episodes over the course of the last 3 months or 2 months. Talk a little bit about your love of the Vancouver small business community. I mean, I read on your About Us page or your About Me page on your website talking about looking for your forever home and your gratitude toward landing here in Vancouver and how much you love being here. I mean, what is it about this community that is so special?
Yeah, I've lived a lot of places and never felt like any of them were home. And maybe that's because I knew they weren't my forever home. So I think some of it is just like your mental approach. Like, you move anywhere and you're like, I hate it here. Of course you're going to hate it there, because that's your attitude about everywhere you go and everybody you meet. So I think first and foremost is like just my own attitude. Like, I love it here. And so just kind of how I approach everybody is like, hey, you're awesome because you live here. And so everybody that lives here just has to be cool. But I think in terms of the small business community, people here are really giving of their time and their money, if you ask. And, so I kind of feel like, hey, if they're willing to support me, I want to be able to do that and help them grow their business. because as I mentioned, it's hard. So anything that we can do in the community to buy local, support local. I mean, not knocking Amazon, but just because you can buy it cheaper and in theory it can be here in 2 days. I mean, is that really what's best for us as a society or as a community? Not always. I mean, sometimes maybe. But I think, I want to support local business and I want to share my love of this community through the people that live here. And most of the people that live here either work here or own a business here. So why not give back to them? Because, the stats are there. You spend $1 locally, how many times that dollar gets spent in a community? And I think that that's just really important to support our businesses. And, like anything else, karma, it just goes around, comes around.
For sure.
Yeah, 100%.
So supporting small businesses means storefront businesses, and storefront businesses means you need probably a loan, a commercial loan. So maybe just a quick, if you can do it quickly, the difference between getting a loan for a residential place and a commercial.
Yeah, sure. A residential loan's kind of a little bit more straightforward. There's a much strictly defined process to do that. A commercial loan's a little bit different. And if you guys ever want to interview a commercial lender, of course, I know several that would be great for your podcast. But it's different because it's more about your package, what you're presenting to them. It's not cut and dried. It's not just based on your credit score and or your income. There's different products like with the SBA where maybe you only need to come up with 10% down. There's loans that include tenant improvement funds. So if you need to rehab the space that you're moving in. So it's a little bit difficult to explain because it's not cut and dry. It really depends on the credit worthiness to a certain extent of the business owner and the business. You're going to do a personal guarantee, but looking at your profit and loss of your business. And, obviously things depend on where the economy and where the market is and the banks that you're talking to. Because again, banks have certain asset classes that at different times they might be investing in. Like, for example, maybe right now a national bank is not going to lend to a restaurant chain because they're going to say, hey, you're closed. But maybe they might be interested in investing in a different type of asset class that they're trying to grow. Maybe they want to grow like cold warehouse storage because they kind of see everybody now is going to buy their groceries online. So at different times, different lenders have different loans that they want to issue. So it's not as cut and dry as like you go talk to a residential lender and they'll be happy to give you a loan on a house. A little more complex.
Got it. Is this, I got into real estate because I was a real estate investor. Is this a time for a real estate investor to get into more commercial or residential, in your opinion?
It depends. So right now on the residential, like I mentioned, we have an inventory issue. So prices are not dropping. Depending on where we end up with these forbearances and if Congress takes any action on people that have applied for the forbearance and what that might look like. And depending on the East Coast, folks that have been hit harder longer and not working, there might be some opportunities in 2021 or 2022 to pick up some foreclosures. But that's not imminent. So if you want to invest in residential real estate, it's still not right now. There's, still not a whole lot of low inventory distressed properties. On real estate, on the commercial side, we're starting to see some of that. I am starting to see some folks that are like, hey, if you own your building, but you're having trouble with your cash flow on your business, we'll buy that and do a land contract. So we'll buy the land from you. You can lease back your building. And we'll just give you some cash so that you can run your business. So starting to see some creative financing on the commercial side because those people are getting hit right now. They can't make their lease payments or their mortgage payments or their loan payments on their commercial building. So we're starting to see some creative stuff in commercial because it's getting hit a little bit sooner. Office space, the employees aren't going to work, starting to see some challenges there. But as I mentioned, the challenges bring a lot of opportunity. And so we're going to see some changing dynamics in our economy for sure after we get out of this.
What is it about the commercial real estate market that that either interests you or why make the shift from residential to commercial? What is it about that commercial real estate market that's that made you want to make that shift?
I really love the business to business aspect. As Jason alluded to, somebody not wanting to buy a house because they don't like the red walls is tough for me, because that's not how I see real estate. I see it as a commodity. So kind of the emotion, I mean, not that it's not stressful to buy a house. I certainly experience that on every property I've ever bought. So I don't mean to poo-poo that, but I think, like, I love just talking to business owners, and it's like, hey, what are you looking for? You have a problem, I have a solution. Whereas on the residential side, it's like, you don't have to move. You can sign another lease, you can stay in your house, you can rehab it. It's just so much more emotional. And again, not that commercial real estate isn't that way. It certainly is, but just not to the same degree. And I just love having a business conversation with people. I'm not a touchy-feely emotional person. And so I just want to have a business conversation, and it just appeals to me on so many levels. And with my background, understanding planning and zoning and, tax assessments and working on development issues, I understand it. And it just fascinates me.
Very cool.
Man, we could have a whole episode about creative financing, and I would be geeking out.
I'm actually attending a webinar tomorrow. I'm actually attending a webinar tomorrow on creative commercial financing and hard money lending. So I'll let you know what I learn about that.
Please do.
Yes. And maybe, hint, 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 you guys should have me come back on your podcast and, on a regular basis, and we can do some updates. Just a thought.
She doesn't beat around the bush, does she, guys?
Wow. Okay. We'll see what happens.
Yeah. I noticed that you need some gender diversity on your panel here.
Well, I mean, we got Kaylor with the long hair. I mean,
that's only because he hasn't been to a barber. That's not really fair.
I hope you're not respecting the hair.
I respect it.
Doesn't make me happy.
Oh, Andi, thank you so much.
Yeah, you.
I mean, I'm sorry. I could spend hours talking about this. Yeah, I appreciate you. Thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah, absolutely. If people want to find out more about you and your business, where's the best people to send, or where's the best place to send people?
I just love to just talk to people on the phone or have them text me, to be honest. Go to a website and it's so my number is 360-810-9111. Pretty easy to remember. For all your real estate needs. Don't have to remember anything but 9111. So yeah, just call or text me, and I'd be love to talk to you about real estate. I could talk about real estate all day long myself. So, it's going to be my career for the rest of my life, kind of my second half of my life. So, I love it. And like Ben, I could talk about it all day long.
Well,
Awesome.
We appreciate you and everything you're doing in the community and for the community. And we are so appreciative that you took the time to join us tonight. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I'm honored to be here.
Since I'm late, I would like to prost you. Thank you.
Oh,
Appreciate you being with us. Apparently, those guys aren't going to be involved in the prost, but that's
we'll prost you.
We already prosted.
you can do it again.
We already
I
did
did
it.
it like
now.
3 times. Okay.
Goodness, you can do it now. I'm
All
here.
right, we'll do it again.
yeah.
Well, in the meantime, Knope, tell people where they can find Business Over Beer while I spit all over the computer.
They can find Business Over Beer at Biz Over Beer. That's BIZoverbeer.com. We have links to our social media handles there. We have some of our audio podcasts, and our YouTube podcast is on there as well. And we also have the Biz Over Beer Challenge. If anyone is still interested in possibly taking the challenge, and that entails either busting your hand open with a bottle, toasting a friend who likes a different sports team than you, or shotgunning a beer like I did, and tagging us, businessoverbeer.com, and using the hashtag BizOverBeerChallenge. And if you choose not to take the challenge, you can actually go out and buy a gift card from a local small business and do that same thing. Tag Business Over Beer, use the hashtag BizOverBeerChallenge, post it to your page so that we can see who you guys are going out and buying those gift cards from.
And that's really what's at the heart of the Biz Over Beer Challenge is, just continue to drink local, eat local, shop local, be local. Think about what the world is like without all of these small businesses in your community, whether you're here in Vancouver or anywhere in this country. These businesses are the heart of all of our communities. So please go out and support them. It's really, really important. So.
Amen.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yep.
Hallelujah.
Andy, thank you so much. We will definitely have you back on again, and we will talk more real estate for sure. But in all seriousness, you are doing wonderful things for the community, and just keep doing what you're doing. And
Awesome.
we appreciate you. Kaylor, I appreciate you. Canope, the people listening, watching. I appreciate you, Canope. I love you, man.
Dave Plaza does too.
I appreciate
Dave Plaza
the people
does. We know that. I don't
watching
know if
and
he's
listening.
watching.
Thank you so much. We will see you.
And thank you for letting me drink my beer with you,
Holy,
gentlemen.
she killed it. Good job. We will see you on Friday.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Business Over Beer reminds you to always drink responsibly. Our theme song is Alley Cat by Soul Shifters. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you at the next Business Over Beer Happy Hour.
I should have said something about your background, Andy, because it's really nice.
That's okay. Jonathan took care of that.
No, I think he means your picture.
The background, your
my
background.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes.